Hey everyone, welcome to Hevo's first Learning Lab webinar. It's great to see so many people joining, an amazing turnout. Thank you for making the time out of your schedules to join us today. We're joined by Arun Chaudhary, who is a product expert within Hevo Data. He's been with us for the past 2 years as a senior sales engineer, and he'll be taking us through the platform in detail today. So for the first 30 minutes, Arun will be having the demo, taking us through the Hevo Data platform. After that, he'll answer any questions that you might have. But you can also type any questions that you have at any time during the demo in the Q&A tab at the bottom of the screen. Either someone from our team will type out an answer to your question immediately, or Arun will take them up at the end. I hope everything is clear. With that, I'll hand it over to Arun to start the demo. Thank you everyone for joining once again. Over to you, Arun.
Sure, Mathli. Thanks a lot. So I welcome you all. It's my pleasure to present Hevo in front of you. Without any further ado, let's start. But before that, for those who are still wondering what Hevo is a SaaS-based, no-code, self-serve, zero maintenance tool. And the reason we created Hevo is that we don't want your data team to focus on creating and maintaining your data pipelines. Rather, we want them to focus on creating data insights to help you take better business decisions. With that, let me start sharing my screen and show you how easy and seamless it is to create data pipelines on Hevo. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, my screen should be visible. Matthew, can you confirm that?
Yes, it's visible.
Thank you. So yeah, so this is the landing page of Hevo if you have any pipelines which are created. And let me start with creating the very first pipeline on Hevo. For that, you just click on the create pipeline button. And because he was a no-code tool, right? So we provided with around 150 plus out-of-the-box connectors, rather plug-and-play connectors, integrations for various sources. It could be your SQL-based sources. It could be your NoSQL-based sources like MongoDB. It could be your SaaS applications like Salesforce, HubSpot, or if you want to ingest the data from any of your flat files which are residing in either S3 or Google Drive or Jesus Bucket and so on, you can use these integrations. And if you're not able to find any of the any connector for your choice of application from which you want to ingest the data, you can leverage our REST API and the webhook connectors. Right. So with that, let me start with the demo of creating the pipeline, and I'll choose MySQL as the source. I'll choose MySQL. Yeah, so this is the screen where we have to enter the details. So enter details of the database with which we want to connect. And these details helps us to create a JDBC connection with your source. So I'll start with naming the pipeline and provide a unique name. I have some data already here. Let me just get the details. Yeah, so these are the details which are required: the IP, the port number, the credentials, and let me paste the password here. I'll quickly just test if the details are correct. Yes, we are able to establish the connection with the source. Below that, once we have entered the required details, now we have to choose at which particular ingestion mode we want to use to perform the change data capture or CDC with the source. Right. So Hevo provides you, in the case of SQL sources, Hevo provides you with these 3 options. The first option is that you can use the logs. So what happens in this case is that Hevo leverages the database logs to understand any of the DDL or DML operations which happens on the source side. Right. This is of course more efficient because every time to identify what data has been changed, which needs to be pulled from your source, we don't have to poll to your table, rather we poll to your logs, so your resource utilization is most optimum. The second option, we have the table mode. In the table mode, we rely on 2 specific columns. First is a unique incremental key, and the second is an updated or modified timestamp. So the maximum values of these columns are referred in every iteration. Sorry, are referred in every iteration to understand if there are any new inserts or updates which have happened on your source tables. In the third option, that is the custom SQL mode, we again rely on these two columns, as in the unique incremental column and the updated timestamp column. But this is majorly used if we want to ingest a small subset of the data from your source database, or if you want to ingest the data from your database views, or if you want to replicate your database views, right? Because in custom SQL, we provides you an option to write your own select queries. So you can use the where clauses, and you can again just mention your views and ingest the data from them. Right? Below that, because Hevo is a SaaS platform, so we connect with your source and destinations via internet. Right? But if in case your source or destinations are not publicly accessible and are there in a private network or are in an on-prem deployment type, so you can use an SSH tunneling to connect with those sources. Right? We just need to enable this toggle, provide the details, and use these keys to create the SSH tunnel. The second toggle which you can use is which you can see here is that if you want to encrypt your connection via your own SSL certificate, you can use this option and provide these details. Right? So I'll just let them as it is, and I'll click on the first step. So that was about the first step, in which we have just configured the source. We have come to the second step. So in the second step, what Hevo does is that it pulls the list of all the objects or all the tables you have on the source database. And if you don't want to ingest all the tables, you can uncheck this, select all check, and can check the tables which you want to ingest. Like in my case, I want to select the data from only these 3 tables. I click on these. And now we have come to the third step, in which we have to configure the destination, right? And to show you the destination we support, so we support these 10 destinations. Of course, Snowflake, Redshift, and other major cloud data warehouses, and widely used databases like Postgres and MySQL are there. And to show you how easy it is to configure a Snowflake account, yeah, we need to provide the URL, the credentials. Yeah. And test the connection. Yep. There we go. So that was about the third step, in which you have just configured the destination. Now we have come to the fourth step. So we have a couple of settings to complete the pipeline creation setup here. The first field we have is that if you want Hevo to add a prefix to the table name when they are being created by Hevo on your destination, that if you want that, you can add the prefix here. And below that, you see the auto mapping toggle. So auto mapping is one of the most liked feature of Hevo, especially for those users who were, before using Hevo, had their own custom solution, right? And I'll talk more about the auto mapping in the coming minutes. But for now, it's just the toggle, and I'll just let it be enabled. Click on the continue button. Yep, that's it. So this is how easy it is to create a pipeline, right? So when you are actually creating a pipeline, it hardly takes a couple of minutes to perform all of these 4 steps and get your data started, get your data ingested and load to the destination. So because we have created the pipeline the very first time, so we execute a couple of jobs in the backend, and we make sure that there are enough resources available for your pipeline, enough network resources, compute resources, and if your source and destinations are available. So because you perform all of these checks, so it might take a couple of extra minutes to start ingesting the data, right? So by the time Hevo is doing it, I have a pipeline which is already created, so that I can walk you through other features of Hevo. So I have the sample pipeline. So once your pipeline is created and it starts ingesting the data and starts loading the data successfully to the destination, the overview tab of your pipeline gives you a summary of the pipeline, including the type of source, the destination, the ingestion frequency, and how frequently we are loading the data to destination. Below that, it shows what is the ingestion mode. So if you remember on the first step when we were configuring the source, we had to choose the ingestion mode, right? So this is the place where we see what is the ingestion mode we have chosen. The status of the historical load, how much we have ingested. If any of the historical load is pending to be ingested, it shows the percentage here. So you can refer this. I'll come to this pane later, but below that, it shows you the list of all the tables which we have in the source and what is the status of these tables with respect to the with respect to this particular pipeline, which means all the tables which are marked active in here are the ones from which we are ingesting the data. And if you remember, in the second step, where we have to choose the objects or the tables, right? So when I created this pipeline, I chose all. So that's why it's showing that all the pipelines are active, and you can see the number of events or the number of rows which we have ingested in the last 24 hours from all of these objects. Okay. Now, this particular pane shows what is the data flow when your data lands into Hevo, right? So there are 4 stages. First is the ingestion stage, transformation stage, schema mapper stage, and then the load stage, right? So as soon as your data is ingested in Hevo, it is shown here, and then comes the transformation stage, right? So this transformation stage, because it occurs before the data loads to the destination, so any kind of data cleaning, masking of your data, masking of your PII data, any kind of data updates, your data type changes, or complex transformations like JSON parsing or splitting of your array data, all of that can be performed in the transformation phase, right? And to perform your transformation, we provide you with the Python console right on the same UI, right on the same platform, right? So, for example, I want to perform changes on, say, the customers table. So this shows the list of tables from which we are ingesting the data. I'll choose customers table. I'll get a random sample, right? So now, yeah. Suppose I have a use case in which if the data I'm getting in that this state is written as ny, but my downstream process requires it to be New York, right? So it's a simple data chain, but it can have a huge impact if it goes as it is in your downstream processing once data is loaded to destination, right? So if I want to change that, I can write a couple of lines. I can choose if property state equals to ny, I want the value of this property to be changed to New York, right? Once I have written my script, I can simply click on the test button, and let me just expand it so that it will be visible to you guys. So now you can see we were getting it as ny, but in here we have it as New York. A very basic example, but it can impact a lot, right? Because we get the data in millions, right? So that's one example. Now say I want to if I get the data for USA country, right, wherever the country is mentioned in USA, I want the data to be routed to a different table, right? As in, I want to rename the table whenever this condition is met. I can again make the changes, simply writing a couple of lines of script. If it is USA, I want the table to be renamed to say Americas region. Okay. Right. So once I've done this, I click on the rest button again, and now you can expand here. And now we can see before it was customers, but whenever the country name is USA, the destination table will be Americas region. I mean, that is the table where this particular row will be loaded to. Okay. But yeah, understand it's a Python script. You don't worry about that you need to learn Python to perform this transformation, because for our business users and for the users for whom Python is not their best suit, we have a drag and drop interface too. So in here, we provide you with inbuilt transformation blocks. For example, you want to say, I'll just show you the example one more time. In this particular row, I have the phone number, right? And because this is a PII data, I don't want this to be loaded as it is in my destination. In fact, I want this to be masked, right? For our business users, we have an option called mask freeze. I'll simply need to drag and drop this particular transformation. Event type, as in which particular table I want to perform this transformation. So here the table name is customers and the field is phone. I'll go back here. Event type equals to customers and the field is phone. Right? Now I build the transformation. I go to the test and I click on the test button. Again, if I expand it, you can see the phone number is written here, but in here the phone number is masked. Again, very basic example, but when it comes to requirements of very common requirements of where you don't want the PII data to be loaded, this is the transformation feature using which you can clean your data and filter out the data which you don't want to load to your destination. Once all of these changes are done or my transformation is written, tested, I can simply click on the deploy button and then the transformation will be deployed. And from this particular moment, whatever subsequent rows I will be getting from my source, this transformation will be applied to all of those. Okay, I'll click on the Python console again. And yeah, so that was about the second state, that is the transformation phase or in-flight transformation as we call it. The third state is the schema mapping. Right, I go to this respective tab. So as I briefly mentioned before, Schema Mapper is one of the most liked feature of Hevo because it takes care of whatever schema is required on your destination to load the data which we are receiving from the source. Right. So you see, we have 8 tables over here, and all of these 8 tables which we are receiving from the source, the respective tables on the destination are created by Hevo. And not just that, whatever respective fields which we are receiving from the source, those are exactly replicated. And if there are any primary key and not null constraints, Hevo takes care of those constraints too. Okay. Now, if there are frequent changes in your source schema, you will absolutely love this feature because it automatically captures the source schema changes and make the required changes in the destination. So gone are the days of manually keeping a track of the source schema and spending your team's bandwidth on maintaining the schema on the destination and impacting your BAU, that is your business as usual. So I'll give an example. Say for this employees table, you have created your pipeline today, and tomorrow this employee number field on the source gets changed to or gets updated to employee ID. Right. So what Hevo does in this case, it immediately understands the change and the required change on the destination, as in a new field with the name of employee ID will be created on the destination, and the subsequent data will be pushed to that particular field. And this employee number field, that will be marked as null for all the subsequent transactions. Okay. So that is how we make sure that the schema drifts or schema evolutions are handled by Hevo automatically without absolutely zero manual intervention. And in similar case, if if we add a new table, if we remove the fields from the source, if we change the data type from the source, and so on, all of those schema changes will be identified and handled by Hevo, right? Uh, I'll show you one more feature. So this is about automatically handling your schema, right? But say you want to customize your schema as per your requirement after the pipeline creation. So, for example, you want to make some changes on the products table on the destination, or you want to route the data which we are getting from the products table in the source to some new table which we have created in the destination, right? For that, you just need to simply disable this auto mapping flag, and then it gives you a couple of options. This edit mapping button gets enabled. Click on this. Here we have the option of unchecking the fields which you don't want. We can rename the fields on the destination. Say I put it product first name. We can change the data type on the destination, and sorry. And if you want to, as I mentioned, if you want to route the data to a new or a different table, say there's a new products table, right? I want to route the data to this new table right now. So I just choose this table on this drop down and click on the apply changes, right? So he would just not, give you, takes care of your schema handling and schema evaluation, schema creation, but also gives you an option to have more granular control and an option if you want to customize your schema of the destination. Right? So all of that can be happen in the schema mapper stage. I'll enable it back, and if I go back, so this was the schema mapper stage. Now, once the data moves from schema mapper, it then gets loaded to the destination, right? But some of you might come up with a question that we are ingesting the data every 5 minutes and loading it every 1 hour. So where are we storing the data in between, right? That is for the rest 55 minutes. Where are we storing the data? So before the data gets loaded to the destination, we have a staging layer between the schema mapper and the load state. This staging layer is an S3 bucket. If it is a Google BigQuery destination, it's a GCS bucket, which is created and managed, maintained by Hevo. We don't charge you anything extra for it, right? Just to make it clear, especially on the commercial side of it, right? So what happens is that we ingest the data every 5 minutes. It goes to all of these stages and then gets dumped to the staging layer, which means the S3 bucket, right? And then based on this particular frequency, as in every 1 hour, Hevo will check if there is any pending data which is yet to be loaded to the destination and which is there lying on the staging layer. We identify that data and then we load that data to the destination, right? So we have ingested the data and we have loaded the data. But because Hevo is an ELT platform, right? So we just not help you to extract the data, load the data to destination, but we also help you to transform the data once it is loaded to your data warehouse or databases, right? And how do we do that? For that, we have something called the models. Okay. Right. So in Hevo, if you want to perform any transformation on the data once it is landed, we provide you with two options. Either you can choose to create a SQL model, or you can create a DBT. You can use the DBT model which is residing on your GitHub repository. I'll come to the DBT in coming minutes. Sorry, but coming to the showing you how you can create a SQL model. I have a draft created already. So now I have the data which I have received from all of the for all of these tables. I have the products table and I also have the orders table, right? Now I want to understand what are the number of orders per product which I have sold till now. Right? For that, I can write a very simple SQL script, use the left join, group the products based on the product code, and can get the data based on the based on the number of orders in a descending order, right? Once I've written this transformation script, I can test the script. Yeah, see, I've got that this particular product with this name has been sold 53 times till now. And in similar fashion, I have the reference for, or I have the data for all of the other products, right? Uh, Now, I have got the data, but I want this to be available in an automated fashion, right? For that, I need to configure that where do I want to export this data to? Say I want to, create a new table to store number of orders per SKU, per product SKU, right? I want to put it in a new table and click on the configure. Right. After that, he will ask us that how frequently do you want to execute this particular query or want to execute the model. Say I want to execute at 15 minutes. We also have the option to trigger these models. Right? Say I want this model to be triggered as soon as I get a new data in the brands table, or as soon as I get a new data in the orders table, so that my order data, which I have just which I'm trying to create using this script, using this SQL script, can be refreshed, right? But I put it at 15 minutes and I click on the schedule button. Okay, so now to summarize, every 15 minutes of time, this particular SQL script will be executed, and the output of that script will be exported to this particular table. Every 15 minutes of time, I'll get the exported data which I wanted to have when I click on the test query. Okay. Yeah, so that was about the SQL model. So now he will also have the option if you want to if you are looking for an orchestration tool through which you can schedule and execute your DBT models, DBT core models. For example, let me see if I have it. Yeah. So this is the DBT repository. Sorry, this is the GitHub repository I have, and in this repository, I have models in the dim folder and the source folder. Right? So these are the 5 models which I want to execute. So I'll go back to my account, click on the models, go to DBT model, create a DBT model. So now here I have to choose that on which particular destination I want these models to be executed. Right? So I choose this one, which I've already configured, DBT model. Yeah. This is my account, which is already configured. So you can use the OAuth to authorize or to authenticate your GitHub account. Click on this, select the repository, the branch, the version I want to use, the project path is dbt learn. Yeah. Once I click on this, yeah, you can see all of these 4 models are now available on Hevo for me to orchestrate and control. Right. I can now set the schedule for all the models. Say I want them to I want them to be executed at every 15 minutes of time. I can choose this, or if I want them to be triggered, similar to the model triggering functionality, I can also based on any new data which I get on my destination table, I can trigger these DBT models, or I can I can also write a cron expression to schedule these. So I choose 30 minutes. Now, at every 30 minutes of time, all of these, at every 30 minutes, all of these models will be executed. Right? But having said that, we also have an option of setting an individual schedule for all the models, for my model. Say I want this to be scheduled at 15 minutes. Right? And I want this to be scheduled at every 1 hour. Yeah, so I can make these changes and set the schedule, right? Let me show you a DBT model which I already created, right? So yeah, whatever DBT models are there on your GitHub repository, we pull those models, execute those models, and as soon as the execution is happened, we delete those models from our infra. So we never store your DBT models or any of the information regarding related to that, right? In the execution history, you can see the status of your DBT model at what particular time it was executed last, and the logs of the execution. So we provide you the detailed logs on what, as in at what particular timestamp which particular activity has happened. Right. That's that. Now coming to the workflows section. So I have created two models now. One as a SQL based model, and the other is a DBT model, right? So this is still a very simple example, but say I have 8 models which I have 8 models which I want to execute in a sequential or in a parallel fashion. I can create a workflow, or this is more like a DAG, like a acyclic graph, right? So I can add a model. I want this SQL model, and this I want my DBT model. Yeah, I can stitch these, and in similar fashion, I can schedule. And if there's a dependency on the output of this model on the execution of the next model, I have the option of stop on failure, so that whenever there's a failure, the subsequent models are not impacted. Right? I can schedule them similar to the models, the SQL and the DBT model which I showed you before. Right. Okay, my friend is saying that we are almost over time. So let me just show you 2 more things very quickly. First is, how do we capture the alerts, right? So any kind of failures or any kind of recovery from those failures which you perform or which happens on your account, it gets captured as alerts on your account. Right? As you can see, these are some of the examples. Right? And you can customize for what particular failure you want the alerts to have, you want the alert to be received. You can either choose to have it on dashboard. You can also you can choose to have it over email. And we also provide integrations with third-party applications like Slack, like Opsgenie, PagerDuty, Microsoft Teams, ServiceNow, and others. And from here, if I'm an admin, I can choose that, okay, for this particular alert, I want an email to be received. For activity locker connectivity, I don't want it on dashboard, I want only over the email. For the daily users report, I want it to know over email, right? So, you get the idea, right? You can customize it as per your requirement. One more thing is that if you so if you want to have granular control on your account for all of for the users who has the option to access your account, so we have our role based access control, so that the governing and the controlling by your admins can be seamless and can be more organized, right? So we provide you with these three roles: the administrator role, the collaborator role, and the observer role. So if I take it from the bottom, observer role will only have the option to view what is happening on your pipeline or on your models or on your destination and source and so on, right? A collaborator is just plus one you know access power. So say if you are a pipeline collaborator, you will only get the rights to edit or pause or restart your pipelines, but you will not get an option to create your pipelines, because you are not an admin, you are a collaborator. You can only collaborate on what your other users on the account have created so far. Same goes for the models and workflows, and same goes for the teams, right? If you want to create your pipeline, if you want to create your modern workflows, if you want to add a to the billing, or if you want to super admin as in the team administrator, these are the toggles which are available for your admin. Right? And the user which I want to include in my account, I can add the email ID over here. Okay, so that was about the RBAC or the role-based access control.